Hi, everyone. I am Lucy John.
Hello, and I'm Panya Newell.
We're the hosts for you today. As the academic year starts to kick in, thousands of new graduate students are stepping into research labs, meeting their advisors for the very first time, and beginning one of the most formative relationships of their careers. The advisor student relationship can be exciting, inspiring, and let's be honest, many times very challenging. So, in today's conversation, we'll talk about the dynamics of that relationship. Whether you're a faculty member preparing to guide a new cohort or a student trying to figure out how to navigate this new world, this conversation is made for you. All right, so let's get started. Let's go back to the beginning. When we talk about beginning of the relationship, we have to think about the hiring, the interviewing process, onboarding, and the paperwork and all of those things. So, Panya, what process do you use in selecting students?
Wow. Okay. For me, when a students approach me and when I have these positions open, I first look to see if the personality is there, if we are good match before even getting to the technical part. And then, of course, that's a very short interview. It's quick, 30 minutes, get to know them, and also they need to get to know me. And I give them the opportunity to think if they want to move to the next step. And for those that decide to go to the second round or the technical part, then I ask them technical questions and evaluate them from the technical perspective. And then after that, obviously, by then I interviewed multiple candidates, and I don't have a spreadsheet, Lucy, but in my mind, I have some spreadsheets and the evaluations of them. And then I extend an offer to the one that I want. But for me, I'm not looking for the brightest of the brightest or somebody who knows everything in terms of the technical aspect of the project. It's a combination of the technical skills as well as soft skills and their personality.
What about the initial process where you got, say, 200 resumes or applications, right? So, how do you do that initial filtering before you even decide to interview them?
Oh, yeah. So that's a good question. I recently had a posting. I'm looking for a couple of graduate students. The initial screening of the CVs or resumes depends on how I made the announcement. Sometimes in the announcement, I say, I need your CV and your statement of purpose and your transcript. And if any of these are missing, then I won't look at your application. So that's one item that I filter through. No matter how bright they are, how excellent they are, if they are missing one of these documents, I won't respond. Sometimes I say that I'm looking only for US based student, maybe based on the funding situations or the grant that's coming from the agency. I don't have the opportunity to hire students from overseas. And if they are from overseas, obviously they will be eliminated. So I use those as a criteria to filter through.
So let's say now that you've made an offer to the students and now they're here, how do you start building
Yeah.
relationship? Do you
Yeah.
treat them differently? Do you like spend more time with them at the beginning? What
Mhm.
conversations do you start with?
Yeah, well, obviously, everybody has their own style, and I don't know if this is the right or wrong, but over the years, I've been changing it. So when I make an offer, in my mind, at least, I'm really committed to that student, no matter what happens in terms of like funding and things like that. And I expect that there is this trust built between us, and they are here for their program, and I'm here to help them to get through the program. So obviously my role is here to help them to get through. By then they already know my expectations, they already know a little bit about my mentoring style and things like that because they went through multiple conversations with me. But when they come to my lab, no matter what level they are, graduate student, undergrad, postdocs, I have kind of orientation day with them, and I tell them again my expectation, and I try to tell them that we are team. it's not me against them or they against me. We are part of team. And I always tell the PhD student that you become expert in the field and I will be asking you questions, because yes, I have this proposal, it got funded, but I don't know the details. You are the one who's going to make it happen. And I tell them, if they look good, I look good. If I look good, they look good. At least that's how I'm approaching it, and I try to build the relationship with the students. And at the beginning, I hold their hands a little bit, depending on what level they are, and give them some papers and things like that. But then I expect them to have more freedom to think on their own. And obviously, I meet with them on regular basis and group meetings. So the relationship start building organically, I guess, because then they are part of the group. And I tell them all that I spend more time with my graduate students than I spend time at home with my family. So obviously for 4 years they are in my lab, it's going to be some conflict, but if there is that trust, we are going to get through that. And if there is honesty, if there is transparency, if I'm putting a lot of pressure, they should come to me and talk to me. But this is how I build the relationship. But I want to hear your thought and opinion, how you approach it. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong.
I have had my own lab since 2004, so 21 years. And I never give it another thought about how I should run my lab. And a lot of times, just things just come and go. And I feel like nature will take its course, right? And some worked and some doesn't work. And for me, that had always been okay. I don't think I've ever really taken it personally if there are conflicts. And only the last couple of years, situations had arose and made me think a little bit more. Maybe I'm getting older. I think that's what it is. Like I start to reflect a little bit more on what would I need to do to improve that kind of working environment for them. But to be honest, I never spent more time with them than with my family. I think work is still work. I think I've also changed over the years in terms of how I interact with the students
Yeah,
because I'm getting older. When I started out, I was 26 years old.
yeah,
My first PhD student was older than me. And my first round of students, also, when I came to RPI, they were a little bit younger, maybe 3, 4 years younger, some about the same. And I've never treated them like I am their advisor in any
yeah,
way or mentor in any way, which I will draw that difference in my opinion. For me, always without saying that we're on the same team. They
yes,
know that I don't think I explicitly say you got to do this and then this and this. I never had that conversation. By default, I felt like that's how we all just all work together and we all do the same thing. If I needed some results fast for whatever reason, they just do it and then they
yeah,
felt like we're on the same team. Why
yeah,
wouldn't I, right? So I never thought about that boundary when I first started out. And then as I'm getting older, I start to feel, I could be totally wrong on this. I start to feel that some students would be a little bit fearful. They treat me as their boss rather
yeah,
than colleague, right? Like or friends or someone they trust. So that trust, I think that you mentioned about start to kind of change, in my
yes,
opinion, from my observation of students. So as I'm getting older, they take my words a little bit more seriously. They feel like, oh, she asked me to do it. I better do it because she's the boss. So I start to sense a little bit more like that. They're not entirely open to me anymore, like my first batch of students. And so I do feel things are changing. The last couple of years, I observed myself start to changing to be a mother figure rather than just like we're all just friends, in my opinion. I went from friends to a boss to now a mother. I think a lot of that really is based on how I'm aging and more experienced. And I really feel like a lot of things just changed because of me. Maybe the students react a little bit differently, but if they work out, they work out. If they don't, life moves on. That's my, yeah,
Yes.
my approach.
Yeah.
So let me ask you some follow-up questions. So we were talking about personalities and students. You don't know them unless you spent a little bit more time with them. Had students' personalities change your advising style in any way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I feel that this job requires a psychology degree. Every student is different, in my opinion, and the dynamics and your relationship with every student is different. As much as you want to treat everybody the same and equally, that dynamic is dictating how you are treating everybody, right? Some students during the interview, I feel that they have this personality, then when they come to the lab I see, oh, surprise. Sometimes it's in a good way, sometimes it's in a bad way. And you mentioned that you are aging, and the students also are aging, right? Throughout these 4 years, they are not the same as the one that you interviewed. You are a computational fluid mechanics person. It's like very fluid, right? It's like it's evolving. The dynamics is like sometimes there are turbulence there too. So it changes so rapidly sometimes, because most of the time the graduate students are also dealing with a challenge of coming from a whole different country to here, or continent, and different culture. So there are other pressures that I guess they define their personality change. I don't think that I can say that I had even one case that they stayed the same personality, and I
Yeah.
think that it's on both sides.
Yeah, they're growing too, right? These are the critical years that they're still kind of forming and they're trying to be independent
Yes.
in many ways. And they become independent thinkers, hopefully. And some probably need a little bit more guidance and some need less. It really
Yes.
depends on how fast they mature. But I think all of that is good. And it's a good thing that they're changing. And as advisors, we have to be somewhat adaptive to that, right?
Yes.
So we can't say, oh, that student, I have to deal like this and then fix it like that. I'm raising two children, and it's very much like that too. They're growing, and I respond differently. And over time, I learn how they behave, they learn how to interact with me. So I think it's very similar in that sense.
Yes.
When I was a student, though, it's interesting. People were just talking about advisor advisee relationship. People describe it as a marriage. You're committed to
Yeah.
this relationship
Yes.
and you have to work with it,
Mhm.
either good or bad, and you kind of have to work with it in order to get to where you need to be. In other words, you need
Yeah.
to, if you want to get a PhD on this with this advisor, you learn. You
Yeah.
have to kind of learn to deal with each other.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it does have a term limit, unlike a marriage,
Yeah.
which is meant to be forever. So, and and if it gets to a bad situation, just think that um, that there is a term that you will get out of it one day.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I actually 100% agree. And that's why I said that I spend more time with them, because I come really early in the morning, leave late in the afternoon. So I'm here the whole time, not sitting next to them, but the interactions is more with them. And it's kind of like a marriage. But the good thing, as you pointed, it's a temporary marriage. In some cases you build on actually those relationships, and my hope is that when I interview for the PhD and master's position, my genuine hope is that even though it's a temporary marriage, but the friendship and the relationship stays for long, and that it's only possible when there is trust, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I believe in that. And I think all relationships are built based on trust, right?
Yep.
And I don't know about you if you ever counted the number of students who stayed and the amount of students who left in the middle without a degree. And I was doing that math the other day. I thought mine was high, say maybe 25% of the students who never finished within my group. And some quit,
Mhm.
some just didn't work out, maybe due to personality, maybe because they end up not liking the research that they were involved in. They prefer more hands-on, like experimental type of work. Just somehow didn't work out. Is that a number similar to yours? I've heard it's actually, on average, it's much, much higher than 25%.
Well, I didn't do the calculations. I need to have that spreadsheet, Lucy. I don't know why I'm not listening. But I think that by looking at it, mine also should be on the high end. But what I can say, I think that 95% and above are the cases that I let them go. So I had very, very rare cases that they left. Very, like very small comparing to the ones that I let them go. And the ones that I let them go, I think that out of that 95%, probably 90% didn't work out with other advisors either. So that's my experience so far. My experience is not like you, 20 plus years. It's like a limited time. But yeah, so but I need to get that spreadsheet and I'll be more accurate next time we meet. But yeah, I had only very, very rare cases, to be exact, two that they left my lab.
Yeah, I don't think I've let people go.
They need to mix you and I.
Think in the past, I was just like, after a year or two, they're really just like no hope. Then I tell them that, what, I don't know, how do you tell them? Sometimes I was just like, I have no more money to support you. Like, we're
Yeah,
not going to where we need to be, or I don't think you'll get there. I sometimes that's how I communicated
yeah.
that to the students, but how they responded, they all that really varies. Yeah.
Yes, you said that how you communicate. I think that communication is very important in the relationship. It's similar to the marriage, right? There always needs to be communications. And it's not like I just drop the ball and say, hey, you are fired. You have to pack and leave. It's not like that. So they see that coming. Sometimes some of them, they say, oh, okay, I guess maybe I need to seek other opportunities or go
Mhm.
to other labs too. I think that's the common practice, at least in modern world, that you don't just tell people you are fired. Some people they do that, but I think it's very unprofessional. And I think that it's very unprofessional on faculty and also on students that suddenly quit. At least that's my opinion. I used to work at Sears, that doesn't exist anymore. Even when I wanted to leave, I put a 2 weeks notice. I could just say, bye, I'm not coming. And I collected my last paycheck. But I think it's very important that both faculty and even a student, they want to leave lab to do it in a professional way and give that notice. 2 weeks is the minimum that I think everybody should follow.
Yeah, I think generations are also changing. We're in an age where kids or people break up over text, right? So things happen, that's the way they communicate. And they haven't been to the real world yet. And so this is sort of a transition
Yeah.
between still academic and real job.
Yeah.
Even though we think that they should be professional and get them ready when they actually go to a real job, a lot of them don't see it that way. They still think it's part of school. More and more so these days, students, PhD students come in, they thought, oh, I'm just taking some more classes. It's just a matter of time. They put a time limit to their work, even though you can't really predict when you're going to
Yeah.
finish or when it's time to finish, how much is enough. It's they don't have that concept. So some of them come in and say, "Oh, I thought I'm just a continuation of what I've been doing as an undergraduate." We assume that they knew, but they don't know at
Yeah.
all. And then they come in after doing some research. They're like, okay, so research is so open-ended. I'm not ready for this,
Yeah,
right? So some think that they are, some certainly are not ready at that
yeah,
point at all. So it's a different expectation, I think, for them. And
yeah.
yeah, and I felt like over the years, I had to do more and more explanation.
Mhm.
So in the past, I knew exactly why I go to school, like,
Yes,
and what I needed to do in order to
yeah,
get a PhD. Of course, part of that is to attribute to my family, like my
yeah.
dad. I've seen my dad defending, practicing his thesis, writing his thesis. I've seen that, so I knew. But nowadays, I think maybe a lot of them don't have no idea what
Yeah,
PhD.
but that's why I have that orientation to make sure that we are on the same page. They know that they are here for a long run. And also, yes, I understand that people they break up over the text and all of those. But one thing that I think that the student they don't realize that it's yes, students they talk among themselves, faculty also talks among themselves. And then also it's a very, very tiny small world. You and I, we just came back from a conference. If somebody messes up in your lab, I would know. And if they are in another lab, like we talk too, right? So the more you behave in a professional manner, you guarantee future for getting jobs. If you want to leave a lab, leave it in a clean way. Don't burn bridges because it's very small community and you apply for a job someday, they are going to find out that you were in so and so's lab and one conversation might ruin that opportunity. So it's better to treat it in a professional way.
Have you ever had any relationship that failed, like in terms of just it gotten to a point that it's so bad that the communication is no longer there, or just out of nowhere, student just kind of ghosted you, like
Yeah.
disappeared, or just sort of
Yeah.
say, oh no, that's it, I'm done.
Well, so yeah, of course. I think that anybody in academia, even if they've been here like as short as I've been, they've had these experiences. I had all of those above. One, I didn't see that coming. That case, I felt complete betrayal because the student was working on the manuscript, was getting ready for proposal defense, and that far along the program, and graduating in a year after that. So, very past the initial stage. And then also somebody that I went above and beyond to help throughout the time that that person was in my lab. And the funny thing is that it was like a breakup text. I got a long email explaining that how good you've been to me, how I have gratitude for this, but I'm quitting and nothing can change my mind. And it was very shocking because I thought, what happened? It's like I talked to this person yesterday and suddenly today, like day and night, which honestly I thought I was very blindsided and I thought it was a 100% betrayal. Like at least be professional. Come to my office, meet with me even over the Zoom and say, sorry, it's not working and I want to go to another lab. But the interesting thing is that the more I think about it, it's like I'm in a relationship with these students for long term, not for getting a PhD and leave. And if somebody's thinking that way, that they break up over the email, like I'm using the breakup word, I'm glad that they are gone because I didn't want to be in this relationship for long term. That's why I went above and beyond because I look at all of this is like they are my educational children, right? I'm proud of every one of them when they accomplish something. And if you don't see that, and if you don't see that even having the guts to come and meet me in person and say that I don't want to even tell you the reason, but weigh your message face to face, it's very different than sending email and saying, bye, nothing can change my mind. I had also other cases during the pandemic that it got to the point that I had a Zoom meeting for the student progress, and the student was yelling at me on Zoom And I was like, well, I'm glad that it's not an in-person meeting because I would have been murdered. That student ended up going to another lab, and sadly, it didn't work out in that lab. Similar behavior continued and left that lab too. But one sad thing is that the more these cases happen, it makes it harder and harder for future students, because then you have, oh, I need to watch for this, I need to watch for that. And building that trust when it starts from 100% bar, it takes longer time to reach to that high level. But I'm at peace because, as I said, I don't want a relationship for short term. I want something for long term. And if they are not there, and if this is the way you behave, the sooner you leave my lab, the better. And those that they worked out, Lucy, they are like my friends. I text them for Father's Day. They send their kids pictures, they wedding. I'm not like their BFFs, but I have a really healthy relationship with them. And I wish we could have a human printing machine so I could 3D print some of those students, say that mix a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I should talk about the good ones too, that I had so many, and I'm sure that you had so many good ones that, when I see them growing in their life and also in their career, buying house, it just melts my heart. It's a very rewarding experience.
Yeah, I agree. I actually forgot about this one student. I think it happened, maybe it was last year, 2 years ago, 2 summers ago. I found the internship for her and she went. At the end of the internship, I was expecting her to come back, and then she sent me an email instead and telling me that this is not a good fit for her. And just like that, like nothing. And I think I was quite hurt at that point because I went above and beyond trying to
Mhm.
help her with situations. At least talk to me, even if it's through Zoom. And I don't even need a perfectly good reason. At
Mhm.
least just tell me it's not a good fit and
Yes.
have the guts to have that conversation. And I think the problem is the more we invest in a particular person, the more hurtful that becomes.
Yes.
I wished, even if it didn't work well, even if it's not a good fit, let's just all be like adult and have a conversation about it. And then everybody moves on. I would feel much better.
Yes.
You know.
100% agree. 100% agree. Yes, act as an adult. But the part that you said that it hurts, yes, it hurts so much because you are invested in them.
So, what are some do's and don'ts that you would like to share with our incoming students?
Well, this is like a good question that we were just discussing some of those. At least have the guts to face your advisor. Go and be brave enough and tell them they accept it. Don't send a cold message, I quit. You don't need to have a reason for that. And also be transparent. The sooner that you know that this is not working, start that conversation with your advisor. Remember that we are part of the team. So let's solve the problem together, even if it means that going to separate paths. And also, student get advice from each other. And there are a whole lot of things that they don't know that faculty know that they can help them to make a more informed decision if their decision is this is not a good fit, we want to leave the lab. And also there are many resources. There are graduate advisors that can also get involved in the conversation, maybe even have a conversation with your advisor and your graduate advisor, and don't burn bridges it in any shape or forms. And also don't badmouth the faculty that provided funds. So those are some of my do's and don'ts. What about you?
For students, I just say everything takes time. So, relationship building takes time. Be patient and
Mhm.
be adaptive, be flexible. When, especially, the journey is pretty long, at least 4 or 5 years, research is not textbook. where you just answer a question. So a lot of times the expectation of being in grad school needs to be communicated and set ahead of time. And I do believe communication is the key. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to ask for help. The help could be coming from your advisor, or it could be from somewhere else. Earlier, I wanted to talk about the difference between advising and mentor. Your advisor may not necessarily be a good mentor. So students don't think that's all you have. You should be building mentors from your
Yes.
peers, senior students who's been there longer, people
Yes.
who share the same background and could share experiences with you. Those are all mentors. Your
Hmm.
life is so much more, and you have to build around you, everything around you. So your mentor could be coming from the lab, could be coming from other places in life. It's really a journey of growth, and you
Hmm.
want to build that up.
Very well said. Thank you.
As we're wrapping this up, we just wanted to say that graduate school is a journey of growth, not perfection. It's okay to not know everything at the start or even at the end. What matters most is your willingness to learn, to communicate openly, and to take ownership of your path. Faculty are all here to support you, but the relationship works best when it's a partnership. Thank you all for tuning in today. We look forward to talking to you next time.